12 months ago, this franchise limped out of the preseason gate getting steamrolled by the Patriots 48-18 on the back of a kick return touchdown that felt like a horror movie jump scare in Week 1. Fans watched that disaster and thought, well, at least the preseason doesn't matter. And then the real season kicked off, and things got worse before they got better. It was a full campaign of pain that ended with a combined preseason scoring margin so lopsided it looked like a typo. 71 points. Not 71 points scored. 71 points lost by. Across 3 preseason games. That's not a football team, that's a cry for help. So when the Commanders opened this season with a 20-7 win over the Miami Dolphins, it should have been a feel-good story, right? A little proof of concept. A little, hey, maybe things are different now. And for the most part, that's exactly what it was. But this is football fandom in the year 2026, where nuance goes to die, and every single preseason snap gets treated like Super Bowl film study. So instead of a clean, simple, good win, nice job, boys, the internet turned this one game into a full-blown soap opera. Rookies got buried before their first game was even over. A star running back stat line broke the internet in the most confusing way possible. An offensive lineman may or may not be cooked. And a coaching staff is reportedly circling one very talented, very embarrassed rookie linebacker with a laser pointer as we speak. Buckle up, because we are diving into every single storyline from Washington's preseason opener, separating the real concerns from the pure, unfiltered overreaction nonsense that's been flooding timelines all weekend. Let's start with the actual football. Washington opened on the road against Miami and, credit where it's due, immediately gave up a touchdown on the very first drive. Not exactly the script anyone wanted. But from that point forward, suffocation, the Commanders' defense completely shut the door on the Dolphins for the rest of the game, forcing 3 turnovers and looking like a group that actually remembered how to tackle. On offense, the touchdowns came from an unheralded, undrafted rookie running back and from the team's prized rookie ball carrier, with a handful of field goals mixed in to round things out. Meanwhile, down the depth chart, the 3rd and 4th string quarterbacks were out there moving the offense with some real rhythm. It wasn't a masterpiece. It wasn't supposed to be. It was a preseason opener. But compared to last year's fire, this was a fully functioning football team. And yet, because it's football and because fans are wired to feel everything at maximum volume, the reactions online ranged from this team is Super Bowl bound to we are witnessing a historic bust unfold in real time, sometimes about the exact same player within minutes of each other. So let's get into it, story by story, and figure out what's actually real. First, the injury news, because this one matters. Quarterback Marcus Mariota went down during the game grabbing at his knee, and for a few terrifying minutes, every fan watching had that sinking stomach drop feeling we all know too well. The good news, and it is genuinely good news, is that the imaging came back clean. No torn Achel. No torn Machel. No meniscus damage. What he does have is a sprained Mechalel, which is going to knock him out for the rest of the preseason. Now, sprains come in grades, and until the team clarifies exactly how severe this one is, the timeline is still murky. Recovery windows for something like this can range anywhere from a single week to a couple of months, so there's no point pretending we know exactly when he's back. But here's the silver lining nobody wants to admit out loud. If Mariota ends up needing real time on injured reserve, it could actually open up a roster spot for Washington to keep an extra body on the 53-man roster to start the year. It's a strange kind of win hiding inside a loss, but that's the NFL for you. In the meantime, this is a golden opportunity for the backup quarterbacks fighting for a roster spot to make their case with real reps. Now let's get to the storyline that absolutely dominated the discourse this weekend. Rookie linebacker Sonny Styles. If you've been anywhere near Commanders' social media this offseason, you know exactly why this kid was must-watch television in his NFL debut. A 7th overall pick. 6'5", 245 pounds with a jaw-dropping, borderline perfect athletic testing score coming out of Ohio State. A national championship winner. A team captain. This was the golden boy of the entire draft class. The guy who was supposed to be the new face of the defense for the next decade. So naturally, the second the game ended, a very loud, very confident corner of the internet decided his entire career was already over. People were out there typing things like this is exactly why they shouldn't have drafted him and questioning whether he even understands how to play the position. After one preseason game, as a rookie, in his literal first NFL action ever, let's be very clear about something. That reaction isn't an opinion, it's just wrong. Not wrong in my opinion. Factually, demonstrably wrong. Now, was Sonny Styles a world beater in his debut? No, absolutely not, and there's real substance to dig into here. On a couple of plays down near the goal line where he lined up on the edge, he didn't play all the way through the whistle, and more broadly, he wasn't exploding out of his stance with the kind of urgency you'd want to see from snap to whistle. That's real, that's on tape, and you can bet the coaching staff is going to make sure he knows it. If there's a film session happening anytime soon, there is a laser pointer with his name on it, and some very direct conversations are about to happen about what it actually means to compete on every single snap. But here's what got completely buried under the outrage. Sonny Styles was also wearing the green dot, meaning he was the one relaying the defensive play calls from the sideline, which tells you everything about the level of trust the coaching staff already has in him as a true rookie. In coverage, specifically in the passing game, he looked genuinely impressive, showing off excellent spacing, awareness, and range to make plays on multiple different types of routes and route combinations. If you're grading strictly on pass coverage, this was an A- type of performance. In the run game, the story is a little murkier, but a lot of that had less to do with him and more to do with the interior defensive line getting pushed backward off the ball, which meant Sonny had to shed blockers instead of running clean to the football. There was wasted movement here and there, sure, some feet moving faster than the eyes could process, which, again, is completely normal and expected for a rookie making his NFL debut. But bad is simply not an accurate description of what happened on that field. If we're being honest and giving credit where it's due, the film from his final college season shows a player who improved dramatically as the year went on, and there is zero reason to believe that same growth curve won't continue now that he's got NFL talent surrounding him in the front seven. Next up, and this might be the single strangest, most head-scratching storyline of the entire weekend, the running back situation. Rookie running back Kaytron Allen, Penn State's all-time leading rusher, led the entire game with a jaw-dropping 23 carries, which in today's committee-heavy NFL, especially in a meaningless preseason opener, is an absolutely massive workload. He finished with 85 yards and a touchdown on the ground. On paper, a solid, unspectacular stat line, but dig one layer deeper and things get weird fast. 23 carries for 85 yards works out to just 3.7 yards per carry, and let's not sugarcoat it, that number is not good. This isn't the 1970s where grinding out under 4 yards a pop between the tackles was considered winning football. In the modern game, that kind of inefficiency raises real red flags, especially for a guy who averaged well over 5 yards a carry across his entire college career and over 6 yards a carry in his final season. In fact, across his whole college body of work, the only times he ever dipped below that 3.7 mark were against the two best defenses in the entire country. So on the surface, rough debut, right? Except here's the twist that made analysts scratch their heads all weekend. According to advanced tracking data, Kaytron Allen became the only running back in the last decade to carry the ball at least 20 times in a preseason game without a single negative yardage run. Not one. Not even a stuffed run for a loss of a single yard across 23 carries. That's a genuinely historic level of avoiding disaster plays. And when you layer in success rate, which measures how consistently a player stays ahead of the sticks based on down and distance, his number would have actually ranked comfortably in starter-caliber territory league-wide last season. So how do you reconcile brutally low yards per carry with an almost unheard-of ability to never lose yardage? The tape gives the answer, and it's not flattering for the offensive line. The interior run blocking was consistently muddy, offering him almost nothing to work with. He wasn't the problem. The hole in front of him was the problem. There is a legitimate concern about his top-end speed and whether he's explosive enough to hit those NFL-caliber running lanes with the urgency required, especially compared to the other running back who stole the spotlight that night, an undrafted rookie who looked faster, more decisive, and hit every crease the moment it opened. But make no mistake, this was one of the strangest, most misleading stat lines in recent preseason memory, and anyone calling it an outright bad debut clearly didn't dig past the box score. Now let's talk about the offensive line, because this is where things get genuinely uncomfortable. Offensive lineman Chris Paul logged just 13 snaps in the opener, and out of those 13, roughly 3 of them were flat-out bad. Do that math and you're looking at close to 1 out of every 4 snaps ending in a breakdown. That's not a small sample size fluke. That's a real pattern. On multiple run plays, defenders simply slanted across his face untouched and blew the entire play up before it had a chance to develop. There was also a rep in pass protection where, in real time, you could see the running back get past him clean. This matters because it feeds directly into one of the more heated debates raging around this team's offensive line right now, sometimes referred to as the tackle-to-guard shuffle debate. As soon as star left tackle Laramie Tunsil suffered his injury, the fan base immediately started demanding the front office go sign a well-known veteran free agent tackle and shift the current starting tackle inside to guard. Sounds simple in theory. In practice, that current starting tackle profiles significantly better on the outside than he ever has on the interior, so shuffling him inside isn't the free win everyone online seems to think it is. And based on what we saw from Chris Paul in this game, he does not look athletic enough to comfortably operate in this coaching staff's more mobile, zone-based blocking scheme, even after reportedly dropping real weight this offseason specifically to get quicker. He's clearly still an asset in pure pass protection, where his ability to anchor and control power rushers is legitimate. But whether he has a real role in this specific rushing attack is a genuinely open question, and it might just push the front office to keep scouring the trade and waiver markets for reinforcements at guard before final roster cuts. On to a much happier storyline, the unsung hero of the entire night. Linebacker Jordan McGee turned in one of the most impressive and most overlooked performances of the game, capped off by a highlight reel tackle where he slipped underneath 2 blockers in the hole and still managed to bring the ball carrier down. His speed showed up on tape play after play, and if you have the ability to go pull the coach's film, it's well worth the watch. Then there's the mystery man of the night, rookie wide receiver Matt Golden. In real time, watching the broadcast copy, his performance didn't quite match the wave of praise flooding social media afterward. He was credited with a key seal block on the touchdown run, but also appeared a step slow getting to his landmark on that same play based on an initial couple of watches. This one comes with a real asterisk, though, because a full rewatch of the coach's tape hasn't happened yet, and there's precedent here for a complete reversal of opinion once the better camera angles get reviewed. So consider this a storyline still very much developing, with an update promised before the next preseason matchup. And finally, the player whose stock appears to be sliding fastest, defensive back Will Harris. He's already being passed on the depth chart by another safety getting more first-team reps, doesn't appear to have the same level of athletic juice as some of his positional competition, and despite entering camp with praise for his communication skills, He's now finding himself buried down to second and third team reps and special teams duty. A couple of completions landed in his coverage area, and he barely factored into the run defense at all. Don't be shocked if his name shows up on the roster cut list before the season even starts. So, stepping all the way back and looking at the full picture, this was a genuinely encouraging debut. A 20-7 win after a team that finished last year's preseason 0-3. Getting outscored by a combined 71 points isn't just a step forward, it's a completely different trajectory. The defense forced 3 takeaways and held one of the more explosive offenses in the league to just 7 points, all while running one of the most basic vanilla defensive schemes imaginable, nowhere close to the actual game plan we'll see once the regular season kicks off. That's not just a good sign, that's a genuinely exciting one. Looking ahead to the next preseason matchup, the hope now shifts to getting a real look at more of the starting lineup, even if it's just for a series or two. Nobody wants to see the franchise quarterback exposed to unnecessary risk behind a shaky offensive line, but there's real appetite to see the top wide receivers get some run. To get eyes on the starting offensive line combinations, and to see a few more of the defensive difference makers out there stacking hands and building chemistry before the games start counting for real. So here's the bottom line on week 1 of the preseason. Some legitimate concerns, some wildly overblown outrage, one genuinely confusing statistical anomaly at running back, and a whole lot of reasons for optimism buried underneath all the internet noise. This is exactly why context matters, why full tape review matters, and why you should never, ever trust a hot take that formed within 30 seconds of a preseason game ending. If this breakdown helped you separate the real storylines from the pure overreaction chaos flooding your timeline this week, do me a favor and smash that like button. It genuinely helps this channel more than you know. Drop your own take down in the comments, whether your team Sonny Styles is fine, calm down, or you've got a totally different hot take of your own. I want to hear it. And if you're new around here and you want breakdowns like this after every single game this season, hit that subscribe button right now, because this is only the beginning of what's shaping up to be a wild season. Thanks for riding with me through week 1, and I'll see you in the next one.